After many years working as an educator and getting involved in the community, John Gilmore opened the first LEAP Science and Maths School, serving the township of Lunga in 2004. There are now 6 LEAP Science and Maths high schools throughout South Africa. Today, It's Africa's Time meets 2 women, Nolu Yolu, a 16-year-old who lives in Lunga and attends LEAP number 1, and Lindelwa, an ex-student who now teaches at the school. Tell me what motivated you to found the LEAP schools.
I've lived and taught in South Africa since the inception of apartheid through to post-apartheid reality that we have now. And during that time, we have created a real mess. My own journey as a white South African through apartheid brought with me a realization of just how much needs to be done to create real opportunity for the poorest of the poor children in South Africa to have access to quality education. So the model of the LEAP School is to create a family away from the family, and in that family to actually push for change. So we create a long day, a home away from home, with caring teachers who become part of the extended family, and where we have difficult conversations to help shape citizens for the future. Young people who will come out of school ready to lead immediately, ready to be agents of change in their own communities, and ready to speak truth to power.
What are the subjects that you're studying at LEAP?
I do Xhosa, English, Math, Physics, IT, Accounting, and Life Orientation.
And what do you see yourself doing in the future? What are you passionate about?
Being a chartered accountant and also a person who actually comes back to the community and give back. Coming from where I come from, it's so rare to find many opportunities. So whenever you get them, you make sure that you perform at your best ability. If you set yourself a good goal, then you're going to follow it. If you don't, then that's how your life will be.
Education is critical in any society. We focus on skills development, and to the extent that people are skilled, then they will be able then to do great things for themselves.
Now, accounting is indeed a fine example of how maths can help students springboard or leap into the working environment. And as an ex-student of LEAP yourself, you used to sit on these very same benches.
Yeah, I was an ex-student also at LEAP. It doesn't focus on subjects only. It also focuses on the humane side. So you find that there's a class called Life Orientation where you sit and you talk about your problems. That's why I became a teacher, because I wanted the students to actually get what I got here at school.
How did you get your teacher training?
LEAP started a program called Future Leaders Program in 2007, where they take 10% of the graduates from LEAP and make them teachers.
Now, it's obviously a very holistic and comprehensive approach to education, but tell me about why the focus on scientific subjects.
Well, history has marginalized black people from the point of view of maths and science in this country. And we live with a reality that only a very small number of people living in townships have access to classrooms where maths and science are taught. So the LEAP Science and Maths Schools is taking its place at the forefront of that social engineering for a change to that reality.
Old Mutual, in being the primary supporter of LEAP School, giving it its premises and supporting it as much as it does, is demonstrating its own commitment to the long-term prosperity of South Africa, which is really dependent on the quality of the human capital and the social capital that we build if we want to be a successful democracy.
Higher education is key for sustainable development in Africa. Training teachers and students in subjects as challenging and necessary as maths and science has proven the best way to promote self-perpetuating development in the long run. For our last story of this episode, let's travel from coast to coast and from a city to a rural environment to the South African wild coast to visit the lovely lemongrass ladies of Bulungula. The Grootegelmaath administrative area has a population of around 6,000, of which 78% live below the poverty line, increasing by 10% each decade. In Xeleni village, over half the households have had at least one child die, and a third of those have lost more than one child, mainly due to diarrhea, probably caused by the lack of clean water. The Bulungula incubator was launched in response to this dire situation.
The Old Mutual Foundation has provided funding and mentorship to the Bulungula incubator since 2008. One, it not only addresses our desire to activate and rural communities and to create opportunities for them to be economically active, but it's especially wonderful in that there's huge participation by women. Also play a very important part in the imparting of those skills to the children. And so we're really proud of the Bulungula incubator.
The former Transkei was established as the Transkei as a homeland in 1976 by the then apartheid government. It's largely been underserviced, as you may know, because of the history of the area. Since post-1994, it's largely remained the same as it was before, with lack of roads, poor healthcare facilities, poor social services in this area. So that was one of the reasons that led to the establishment of the Bulungula incubator. The Bulungula incubator has got four focus areas: that's education, social services, community health, and sustainable livelihoods. There is a total of about 200 people employed directly by the Bulungula incubator. It's a direct benefit for about 4,000 people.
None of the 20 lemongrass farmers have ever been formally employed, so they've had to rely on child grants and, for some, irregular remittances from husbands working at the mines in the Northwest Province. Being part of this project opened them to a world of entrepreneurship and commerce. With their new income, these women are now able to supplement their household incomes and buy food and other necessities. The lemongrass is planted and tended to until maturity at 3 months old. The leaves are then harvested using sickles, leaving the plant stock to regrow new leaves. The harvested leaves are thereafter dried in solar drying tunnels. Not all the lemongrass is used for tea processing, as most of the winter crop doesn't grow tall enough and is affected by rust, and thus not usable in tea production. This lemongrass is harvested and distilled for essential oils. The essential oils are then used in soaps, bath salts, or sold as oils. The farmers independently produce and sell their lemongrass to the market. The cooperative members have a minimum of 1,200 lemongrass plants each, and together produce 25 tons of lemongrass per year, all certified organic. Did you know that lemongrass grows by moonlight, and these exotic plants respond at night to the care and hard work their procreators invest by day? That story wraps up our first episode of It's Africa's Time, where we've witnessed how women in Africa can create sustainable lives for their families and their communities through training and enterprise. But before we end today's program, we'd like to ask an official member of the UNDP how she envisions the role of commerce in the empowerment of women in Africa. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on It's Africa's Time.
The MDGs set out basic development milestones. If you are passing these milestones, you are on a roll with development. You've got every child through primary education. You've substantially reduced poverty and hunger. Now, sustainable business practice from the micro level up can make a huge contribution to achieving the MDGs, not least in making people food secure and reducing and hopefully eliminating extreme poverty. In parts of Africa, as in parts of our world generally, women don't enjoy anything like equal representation or voice in the political structures, the decision-making structures. They are at a disadvantage when it comes to owning or renting land, accessing credit, having the sort of inputs that would really make a small business, agricultural or otherwise, hum. So for development to really take off and benefit whole countries, we have to bring women into the equation. We have to invest in girls, opportunities for women. That way we'll not only achieve Millennium Development Goals, but we will see Africa and the rest of the developing world really making progress. I think that women are very entrepreneurial. Given a chance, they'll access the credit, they'll use the opportunities, they'll create a better livelihood for themselves and their families. So supporting the creation of those micro businesses, small businesses, right from the very smallest level is absolutely critical to the empowerment of women and the growth of a vibrant private sector in societies.